Me too. Okay. I love that, Danny, because I am too. Sometimes I tell people, being an entrepreneur is really rewarding and great. But there are days where I'm like, I didn't know I was going to be the legal team, the technical team, the budget review. It's all part of it, right? Oh my gosh.
You wear many hats, and I didn't realize that being an educator for most of my life. Then we wear many hats, so you didn't know that you were going to be the marketing person and the packer, and clean up afterwards. But the best part is just talking to people. I love talking to people. I miss that with being an educator, being in front of the classroom. So you're a performer. So you get up every day and get in front of the kids, and you perform and do a lot of
Yeah.
cool science stuff.
Yeah. So it must have been really hard for you during COVID. Did you move to online? Did you kind of
Oh,
switch?
well, luckily, I before COVID hit, I knew that was going to be my last year with education, uh, and because I was going to jump full feet head first or feet first into doing Danny's Rocket Ranch Space Salsa. So it being locked down was difficult, but
Mm,
I was making salsa, packaging it here so I could do this here on the Rocket Ranch. But I
huh.
missed the interaction of people. So it really COVID did a number on all of us,
Yeah.
especially all of us who are extroverts and we love being around people. It was hard,
Oh,
but
so hard. But we have emerged. Let's hope we've turned that corner. And Danny, I just am so grateful that you're here with us today. And I want to show everyone why you're here and what's going on because this little puppy baby that you have come to just perfect and your space salsa and your personality and what you're doing, this all was introduced to me last year in person at the Space Camp Alumni Fest. And I finally got to meet you. I had heard all about you. And then I heard about what you do for Space Camp kids, helping them to attend. So let's start with that. I mean, when I saw you walk in the room, I'm like, there he is. I finally get to see you in person, and you're tall.
oh, I was looking forward. I knew you were coming, and we had been Facebook friends of about a
Yeah.
year prior, and just to see you in person, it was a wonderful moment. I just thoroughly enjoyed that. It's always good to meet people in person because
Yes.
not the same as seeing them on a video screen, but it was just
Right.
wonderful. And
True.
just the energy that you have, it's just infectious.
Well, thank you. Right back at you. Oh my gosh. So, for those folks who don't know, let's start at the very beginning. When did you say, I should, my salsa is so good and so delicious that I'm going to make it in batches truly unique that can travel, that can be taken with you to the party? And I'm wearing like my party sparkle today just for
Yay.
some salsa celebration. But I'd love to know, first of all, how you just were in the kitchen with the recipe, and then how you paralleled and put together that the salsa can get kids to space camp. So let's start in the kitchen. Who told you? Had you just been making your recipe for all the years, and people were finally like, when are you going to make this available for us to have all the time?
Well, I'm glad you asked. That's a really good question, and here is the story, and we'll take the journey together.
Okay.
Well, years ago, it started. I made a salsa, just with simple ingredients around the home because I'd always buy the canned salsa or the jarred salsa,
Sure.
but it wasn't. So I can do better than that. So I came up with a recipe, very simple recipe, and it's just I started with canned stewed tomatoes, frozen hatch green chili, which is a specific chili from southern New Mexico, and usually frozen. Frozen is a lot better. And yeah,
Got to have hatch chili. Oh, no, let's start.
lost my
No, no worries. We can edit. That's what this is about. So, the hatch chili is those green chilies that are just so
green chili,
delicious.
chopped
Okay.
onions, even yellow sweet onions,
Okay.
garlic salt. Just as simple as just started mixing that up, and it came out to be a good salsa. People would say if I'd go to a party, so what should I bring? I said, bring your salsa, bring your salsa.
Yeah.
So So what I did is after I was inducted, I'm a member of the Space Camp Hall of Fame. I was
Yeah.
inducted 2010. So as we gathered every year to induct the new members, I would bring my fresh salsa. I would pack it in the lock tops and put ice around it and put it in my luggage. And then we'd celebrate around the pool, usually late at night,
Yeah.
kind of overt party. So we would have beverages and salsa. And inadvertently, someone would always ask, have you ever thought about marketing this? And I go, no, I see tons of salsas out on the shelves and never really thought about it. But every once in a while that comes up. And so that happened. Well, it was two. Now here's the story how it happened. In 2018, again another Space Camp Hall of Fame induction ceremony. And can I pause just for a second? I have to.
Sure. Yeah. Go ahead.
Okay, I'll be back.
Go ahead. Me too. I'm going to pause.
Okay.
Paused it. So, how did you, at the space camp events, when everyone told you you should market this product, is that the moment where you said, how could I do that? Because you were carrying these in jars and ice?
I would carry it in a Ziploc and lock top, like Tupperware type of
Oh my
containers,
word.
so it wouldn't, so again, wouldn't spill. And I double Ziploc them just because I didn't have an accident, so they're pretty good.
Yeah.
Well, it was 2018,
Okay.
and it was the induction. So now the our clandestine pool party had become an official event at Alumni Fest or Space Camp Hall of Fame. So there we are sitting around the pool at Marriott,
Uh-huh.
and again we're eating the fresh salsa. And again, someone asked me, Danny, ever thought about marketing this? And again, no, I have not. I have not. There's a lot of salsas out there. I really wouldn't know how to do it. A few more chips and salsa and some beverages. And I look over and Dottie Metcalf,
Uh-huh.
Lindenberger is close by, and I said, hey, Dottie, you think the folks on the station would like my salsa? And her eyes get big, and she said, Danny, they'd love your salsa.
Oh.
So a few more chips and salsa, some more beverages, and start talking a little bit louder. So as you had some false courage in there. So I said,
Right.
"What would you think?" Just asking people of the Hall of Fame members around me, "What do you think if we could come up with something that we can sell and help make money for Space Camp, especially our Space Camp Hall of Fame scholarship fund, and help kids go to Space Camp?" They
Yeah.
thought it was a pretty good idea. So I left there in July of 2018 back to Colorado, and I said, okay, that started the process. So the process was, okay, how am I going to do this? It can't be like any other salsa because there's tons of salsas on the grocery shelf. We got to make it unique. So I used the idea of Apollo, because they had the freeze dried, dehydrated. You just add water. So you'd put
Yeah.
water in, rehydrate it maybe 20 minutes or 30 minutes. It would rehydrate, and then you could eat it. So that started me going. So looking for packaging. It has to be tough. It has to withstand the launch into space. So got to use a tough mylar bagging.
Okay.
I took my salsa. I tried to dehydrate it. It worked. I freeze dried it. It worked, but it added another layer of cost and time, so it became much more expensive. So I said, okay, let's go back. What if I would find the best freeze dried and dehydrated components and start blending till it came up that I could rehydrate it and it would taste similar to the salsa that I would make. So that's how it started. Took about 9 months and 11 trials. I went out and just started mixing a little bit of that. It was kind of like the witch's brew. So you add
Oh,
a bit of little
sure.
eye of newt, bat wings, and you put it in there and mix it up, boil, toil, and trouble. Then I would try it. I would try it, and then I'd give it to friends and family. They go, okay, needs a little this, needs a little that. Then I would shot about, I think, attempt level 6. I shotgun out. I packaged it like I would, send it out to about 20 of my Space Camp friends
Uh,
and Hall of Fame members. And they said, okay, taste it, I put on an online survey and it says, what does it need? What do you like about it? Several questions, got all the data back. and then started tweaking it. And I think it took another 6 more tweaks. I sent it out again,
Mhm.
and they said, okay, this is good. This is good. So I got a lot of really good responses. Then I said, okay, we're pretty close. So that process took about 9 months.
Oh my gosh.
So,
And
so,
and the critique of your friends
and
and family.
so most of them, not 100% like it, but not most of them will like it. So then they said, how are we going to package it? So Brian Matney, who's a really good friend, he's another space geek from Huntsville, and he's a graphic artist. So I said, well, he had some ideas we threw around. I said, well, it's about packaging. What should it look like? And we were coming up with ideas. Now, my last name is Hawkes, but it looks different. It's a Spanish name. So it's spelled Jaques. So I said, and my ranch is called Hawkes Rocket Ranch. But Danny is a lot easier to say and not mispronounce. So the name became Danny's Rocket Ranch. Right. And then it's got to be a salsa. It's got to be different. So it's going to be space salsa. So that's how Danny's Rocket Ranch Space Salsa began.
And there it
And what
is.
and what you have, that's the Martian Spicy Original, mostly because I borrowed. There it is. I
There it is.
borrowed, and I have a like one too here, the same, because I would always say on to Mars, on to Mars. I borrowed that from the Mars Society because you
Sure.
got to go to Mars. Uh, so I said, okay, it's going to be a space salsa. So Martian Spicy Original, that's what we started out with it. And later we became, so then we started marketing it. We launched in August of 2020 with one product. And immediately my friends called me up and said, Danny, you're famous. I go, what? He said, we just saw you on Fox Family and Friends. I go, what? Apparently, Robert Perlman, who has Collect Space, he's told me, whenever you get it ready, we'll do a story on you. And apparently, Space.com picked it up, MSN.com picked me up, Fox News picked it up. So
Sure.
before I even launched, we had national exposure. So there it took off. It
Nice.
took off from there. I wish it had stayed at that level, but because the number was all of a sudden I said, wow, this is going to be easier than I thought. That's what I thought.
Famous last words.
That was a flash in the pan. Flash in the pan. I think that, but it was a good initial exposure that we had for the space also, which is really really good. Again, as you showed, the way I designed it is packaged. It's only a little over 3 ounces.
Yeah.
Very lightweight. It takes up 1/5 the space a normal jar of salsa. It's ideal for space, but there's
Yes.
not a lot of customers in space. So it's really good for camping and backpacking, RV, and any place where space is just a rich. So you carry this along. It travels really well. You can drop it on the floor; it doesn't break.
That's right.
So it eventually morphed, and we added a mild version, Martian mild, and a hot version, which is not super hot,
Okay.
Martian hot. And we started this company with Laura, my forever bride, Laura, and I. We started the company. 10% of the profits are dedicated to the U.S. Space and Rockets Center's Foundation, Education Foundation, for Space Camp and Aviation Challenge scholarships. So
Wonderful.
this is what gets me up in the morning, because I know when I'm packing salsa and the Marzarita mix, that the sales, that it's going to help kids, especially
Oh,
kids from underrepresented groups, kids from low income families, girls, kids that need a helping hand.
yeah. Oh my
So
gosh. Well, first, let's just cheers right there. I know the audience doesn't know, but let's pretend that it's our party with your salsa and get your coffee. And I've got my faux margarita and just congratulations on the product. Cheers. And
cheers. Thank you,
what
Beth.
you've accomplished so far. I mean, this to start a business in 2020 in the middle of the pandemic with just a tried and true recipe that friends have enjoyed, that's worth celebrating. Fantastic. That's
Well,
awesome.
it has
Yes.
been. been a total experience. And again, yeah, probably one of the most difficult times to start a business, but that's okay. You have to start somewhere. It doesn't matter.
Got
It doesn't
to.
matter where you start, it's where you end up. So
So
we're
I'm dying to know now. You may have told this story before, but for the casual space listeners who haven't heard it, why space camp? What was the interest? And had you attended? Had you been there? Is it something that was always part of your life experience and that you loved? Why put the money to space camp?
well, follow me. The story begins back 6 decades ago. And I used to love to watch the news with my dad. And we heard about there was going to be a rocket launch. And I had to go back in time to find out what it was. Well, this was the last flight of Mercury. I get goosebumps just thinking about this. It was with Gordon Cooper, Faith 7, May of 1963.
Yeah.
So I told my dad, it's my dad. My dad was an early riser, being raised on a farm, very early riser. So we had a lot of chickens. So he would get up every morning and candle eggs and crate them. So he woke me up. We sat in front of a black and white TV and watched the launch. I love Walter Cronkite. This is
Yes.
Walter Cronkite. We're here at Cape Canaveral.
Oh,
And
nice.
he
Well
was just
done.
one. So I got to watch Faith 7 launch in May of
Ah,
1953. And it stayed with me throughout my life.
ah.
And I said, I want to be an astronaut. But being grown up on a farm in southwestern Colorado, and again, I'm truly blessed to be living on the same farm that I grew up on.
Are
So that
you?
it's that Danny's Rocket Ranch.
Do you still have
So
chickens?
my brother has the chicken business now. I'm
Awesome.
the salsa. He's the chicken man. I'm the salsa man. So,
Awesome.
but
Hey, salsa
yeah.
in your eggs is so delicious.
Oh, over scrambled eggs or in a breakfast burrito, it is totally awesome. So with Space Camp, a little quick story. It was funny because the next year when I came back to the 2019 Alumni Fest, I snuck in and made the salsa. We usually would have a breakfast. So I snuck in, and the salsa was the new Danny's Rocket Ranch Space Salsa. So
Ooh.
every a taste of it before it was even we even were marketing it. So, and they really thoroughly enjoyed it. So kind of a surprise. It was that blind taste test, and they put it on their eggs and potatoes, and it was really good. But I jumped back, so it was this is an aside. But let's go back to how it started. I just loved space. I wanted to be an astronaut. But growing up in southwestern Colorado,
Yeah.
Johnson Space Center was physically 1,500, about 1,500 miles. Well, not that far, 800, 900 miles away. But a long ways from being on a farm, helping your mom and dad. Yeah, my brother and I, we were the labor. So it was a family business. So we stayed there. So I took Plan B. I had a full ride scholarship to a local college in Durango, Colorado, Fort Lewis College. So I knew that I wanted to become a teacher. That way I would have summers off and I could help my mom and dad on the farm. So that's how it turned out. Now, fast forward, and from the time I started junior high science, we started doing rockets. I was just the biggest kid in the room. So I said, come
I
along
can
on this
see that.
journey and let's learn about everything science and space and rockets. So every year we would finish up the year with rockets. The kids would build rockets
Wow.
and we would have just a great time. But I
The
knew
boys put the bugs in the rocket, Danny.
uh, I did not let them.
You did it.
I was the safety officer also. So we had to, I said, no, 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 no. So I let them put other things, but I said, nothing living. I know we're not supposed to do just respect that.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I knew space camp was out there, especially in my final years of going to college in the early 80s. I had read about it and I go, okay, that is cool. And when I became a teacher in 1992, I knew it was there. I needed to stop by. So on a family vacation, spring break, we cruised down through Huntsville, Alabama,
Uh-huh.
and seeing that Saturn 1B at that time, that was the only one that had there besides the Saturn 5 laying down. And I said, this is cool. So my family stayed in the hotel and I spent the whole day at space camp with my mouth hanging open,
Oh gosh.
talking to the counselors and the people that were there. And I said, this place is cool. I need to bring kids here.
Oh wow.
So the next year, a special project I had, I took a couple of kids. In the following year, I took two more. Then the next year, I said, okay, we're going to try to take as many kids to space camp as we could. So we ended up taking 56 students from Ignacio, Colorado on a 28-hour bus ride. We rented a charter bus and 28 hours of fun, or I don't know, you could probably say something else.
With chaperones or just you?
With
Okay.
chaperones, yes, yeah. But the kids were just wired, and it was magical. That was the word. It was magical. And I remember going down. We were finally there. That you could feel the electricity in the bus, and when I saw the Saturn 1B, I asked the bus driver. I said, "Could I have your mic? Your mic?" So we and the kids were just pushing forward to the front, and I said, students of Ignacio Junior High, let me be the first to welcome you to Huntsville, Alabama, home of Space Camp. And the roar that it erupted in that bus was deafening.
Oh,
So we got there, and a week of adventure. I was running around taking pictures of all the kids, and it was truly magical. And I said, this is the magic. It energized me. So we've been doing that now 30. I've been doing that now 30 years.
oh my
And
gosh, 30 years. Oh my
30 years.
56 kids. Now, do they find their own way and have to pay for some of it and then they have a little bit of scholarship?
Well, at that time, we raised money. It was this. We did
Wow.
everything for to raise money, and we've done practically everything to raise
Wow.
money for those kids. So, kind of flash forward. So we started the company, it would be great to help fund kids. And growing up on Indian reservation, again, it's especially those kids are near and dear to my heart. Low income families, uh, children of color, young ladies. So helping those students, but we don't limit it just to that. It's kids in need. It's not a handout. It's a hand up. It's a helping hand. And I've seen what it's done for students. And that's what my passion is. I knew as I retired, I would devote more time to creating Danny's Rocket. We have a product that we can sell. We have to get it up to profitability. Hopefully, we can grow the company, that we can help many more kids and provide opportunities for kids locally, regionally, and nationwide.
Now,
Yeah,
after 30 years, gosh, Danny, do they find you? Do they say, I want to go to space camp? How do I see the Rocket Man and get myself to space camp? They must know that you're the one of the keys to getting them. I mean, and how are they getting space in their curriculum and they're getting introduced to it? Or do they have some outlets and availability? Because I know your story is so special in so many ways. But Danny, I think a lot of people, more people than most, I always have guests on and we're always talking about coastal events and things of launch parties and astronauts and things that are very recognizable to a very few small percentage of the world. Who gets to be an astronaut and who gets to see launches and who lives on a coastal region where launches are frequent. That's very few, very low numbers. So if you grow up in Colorado, or in my case in the Midwest, these are not things that are in your everyday vernacular. Certainly they're not events and it makes them even more special. But it also, for me at least, growing up, and it sounds like for you on the farm and the ranch, you had to probably seek out these space and science movies, books, opportunities, and places in which you could get more because that was your interest. And was it hard to find? And is it getting a little better for the students these days?
it is, especially with the advent of the internet, and you can
Yeah.
see things from the comfort of your classroom or your computer, or now just your phone. You can
Yeah.
find so many things. So back then it was like the infancy of uh, of the internet, but still it was something that I think it drove me. I was that little kid. I see the little kids, so I would introduce them to things. I thought it was very important for them, and I've had been asked that question, why? And I said, if I think it's important, we know where we're going. We're going to be a spacefaring
Mm.
uh, mankind is, or mankind is going to be spacefaring. Here is just an opportunity. Not going to twist your arm, but many kids have taken the opportunities. And you do have to promote it. You have to go into the local schools, Boys and Girls Club. Fortunately, we have a very good local library, and we have a space nut that's in charge of community outreach and educational outreach. So we do rocket nights. We have space days. Of course, they do Yuri's night. So
Yes,
we
yes.
do have some partisan and passionate people here, and I just go along and help. But I do have to bring it back into the local schools again, because when I retired from Ignacio schools, the program was dropped. And remember, the superintendent asked, "Well, doesn't somebody do it?" They don't do it because of the time.
Yeah.
It would take about 500 hours a year for me. So you have to be passionate about it. You don't get paid for it, but the passion of space, adventure, science fiction, that's for me, that just touches my heart. And I said, come along. It's not for everybody, but if you want to come along, let's go do some of these really cool things. Let's build the
Uh,
rockets, make it low cost. And in fact, I was just down in a place called Wagon Mound, New Mexico. It's
okay.
a small community. It's in fact the K through 12. There's only 65 students. So I told one of my friends down there, I said, I'm coming down here and we're going to bring rockets. And I think let's try to get some kids. We'll find the funding for them and send them to space camp, because it's very low income area and not a lot of money. But hey, you never know what it's going to provide. I have one former student that works for NASA at Glenn Research Center. Got a couple of fighter pilots that are out there protecting our nation. Uh,
Wow.
the helicopter pilots that came up. I don't take credit for it, but I opened the door. I think I opened the door, and I said,
You certainly
"Walk through it
did. Oh, you
and see
certainly
what."
did. Oh, Danny, I want to talk more about that. Okay, because you have been witness to what was maybe a spark and then the what gets ignited when you're at space camp. And I want to talk some more about this. What is it that you're seeing in their eyes? What is it that you're seeing them experiencing when they're sitting in the chair or the simulators, or when they walk through those gates and they see the shuttle, they see the Pathfinder, or they see the Saturn V, and then they go through their mission. And throughout the ways, we talk about this a lot. What is it? What is the secret of space camp? And what is it that makes these kids that walk in walk out so differently? What do you think it is?
When you have a passion in your heart and your mind, and when you can actually go to a place that is a center of what your love is, especially if there's space, not and and you get to see it. You get to sit in a simulator. You get to go on a simulated a mission. This is what they're doing in space. I'm actually doing it, but I'm doing it on Earth. It ignites that spark that's in them and turns it into a flame. For many of them, it turns it into a burning passion. So you see it on their face, on their mouth. Their mouths drop open. They look around and they go, "Wow, this is cool." And you love they're in their flight suits and they're strutting around, and they know that's the Saturn V, and that's the Mercury Redstone, and that's the Jupiter C, and they know that they've read about it, but now they get to experience and touch it and see it. It's get so close to it. That is what ignites their passion.
Becomes a reality for them. They get to see it, touch it, and the mission challenges them. Here's what I've always said, Danny, as a space camp alumni as well. And it's just such an honor to stand alongside you as alumni and supporting camp, because it is life changing for many. Dottie Metcalf herself, who you mentioned, started at space camp and became an astronaut. And so the pilots and the fighters that you mentioned, and some of the other folks that came up that you opened the door for, I think what it is when you walk in, you are this person from this place in the United States or somewhere in the world, because space camp brings kids from everywhere. You're at this level of education. Maybe you speak this language. Maybe you have a certain challenge or handicap. Everything before you walk in the mission defines you in some way. But when you step through those doors, that all dissolves, and your mission is what defines you. And you have to work as a team and work together. And so that is what defines you. And everything else kind of goes away or goes aside. And you get to work and live and play and experience a mission together. And that that changes a person because who gets that outside of school? And people can say, school is formative and school is, very determines a lot in your future, but you don't, not like this, not with the love, like you said, that is a spark. And I wonder how many students you saw too that maybe didn't have a space knowledge or know a lot about space history. And then it got ignited when they were there amongst it all and be like, okay, I knew about it. I was vaguely familiar, but now I'm immersed and this could be my future. Did you see some of that too in your 30 years?
Oh, I have, and from for many of our students, especially if you grow up in a rural community, many of the students will stay in that community. But for some, it sparks that adventure to go out, go exploring on their own. They're the Magellans and Columbus and the Vikings and the Polynesians going across the ocean. It sparks an adventure where it's going to where you don't know where it's going to take, but it gives them something that's different
Yeah.
and something not that they can see. And again, experience maybe on a computer screen or a TV screen. They could say, I went there to some place I saw on TV. This
Yes.
is actually there.
Yes. Yeah, that's how I felt. Oh my gosh. Now, Danny, you were right when you said earlier you are famous because we have some friends up here in the Midwest that just happen to be like down the street around the corner and they went to our gym, the same gym my husband and I went to. And, after a while, a couple years, they moved out to, I believe, New Mexico or Arizona. And they send me this email. Oh my gosh, Beth, we met your friend Danny. Danny's incredible. Danny has the best salsa. And it was just so wonderful to meet him. You tell us that you've met him or you've seen him lately. And I'm like, are you kidding me? And I mean, this is just the connections you have, Danny, from folks everywhere who are like, you're like the Kevin Bacon of Space Camp Salsa. Because literally people, I mean, I run in circles now that you do too, that are like the Yuri's Night Group and the students. And of course, we've got Space Camp, but people really do know you and they know what you do. And we're all so grateful. But tell me a little bit about like how long are you on the road and how is distribution going and growing? Because I just keep seeing your Facebook posts. Another company picked it up, another store picked up your brand. The Space Center, that's the tourist or museum next door to Johnson Space Center, has picked up your salsa. You're everywhere.
Well, I'm glad I'm showing that. I don't thank you for kind words. I'm blushing here. It is I get one store at a time, and I know at some point it's going to snowball. I again, as being the CEO and the janitor, I produce it, get here, and going on the road. I started to plan I go to where people, the spacey people are. And so again, that's Houston. We just came back from SEEK, which is the Space Exploration Educators Conference, and
Ooh, how'd
introduced it
that
to
go?
it went really, really well.
Yeah.
And we got in a couple of stores down there. Well, a couple of souvenir places and a liquor store, the Marzarita. So I'm doing it one store at a time. So I'm headed down to here's another group that were both part of the Space Hipsters are
Yes.
having their annual field trip down in Alamogordo, New Mexico. They were going to see Trinity Site, so I'm packing up and I'm going to go down and see a lot of the space hipsters who
Ooh.
are Facebook friends, and now we'll get to meet in person. Then we'll be headed to uh, the Space Symposium in Colorado Springs.
Oh,
So
yeah.
all along the way, I pack up salsa and Marzarita mix, and I make phone calls and I stop at stores and give them a sample with chips or a little sample of this. And
Perfect.
usually the data showing that for every 100 stores that we go to, 25 will pick us up. So it's a numbers thing. So we're getting it. We're in 55 stores in 5 states, including the U.S. Space and Rocket Center. So I check on them, and so it's just trying to get
That's great.
network. If we can get a national company, it would be really great having a as an account with them. It would be a lot easier. So we're not producing. We're under 500 units a month. 500 units is our is our break even point. So we're at last year we sold 311 units per month on the average. So we're getting there. We
Nice.
sold twice as many as we did in the 2 previous years. So we see the numbers going up. So I know that the that going out there and doing publicity and going to where people are, uh, again, Instagram, Facebook,
Sure.
LinkedIn. So we're just trying to get the word out that this is branding. I think yeah, you had a podcast about branding, your personal story. So I'm just sharing the story
Yeah.
with and it could be everyone's story. It's a story of where we've begun. I thoroughly have enjoyed your story, especially with your podcast. Again, it's my favorite podcast. Not that I'm saying that, not saying that because I'm on it. I've listened to every single episode.
Oh, Danny, that's special. Thank you. And that's why I do it because and you said you can really scale up and you can create big things and a lot of people will benefit, but scaling up is a lot of work and it takes, right? It takes your focus and then it takes money and investment, all these things. But I think for what you're doing and what we're doing and what the podcast is doing, it's easy to get swept up and like serve everyone, try to do it all, get all the kids, everyone to space camp. And it's a challenge. So we're just going to keep plugging along. Where can casual space listeners get your salsa and order it online so they can have it?
Well, if you www.dannysrocketranch.com, and you can go on there. You can also get it in, like I said, 55 stores, but you got to be in the Colorado, New Mexico, Texas, Alaska area, Alabama. But we're going to try to make it ubiquitous. That's the goal, to have it maybe in 1,000 stores in all 50 states, and
Yeah.
that's going to be awesome. So
Yes.
that's what we're doing, and it's
Think
going to be
big.
in a zombie movie. We're going to be featured in a zombie
Yes.
movie.
Tell us about this movie. What is
Well,
this?
well, I know that this will appear at a later date, but actually today is March 21st. It's premiering online. It's called Zombies Extended Cut, and this is a cool zombies movie. You'll see us selling. My lovely forever bride and I selling spa salsa and margarita mix on the movie, and then we get to be zombies. So we had to write that in our
No
bucket list
kidding.
off because that's a bucket list item.
Where can people see this movie online?
Oh yes, you can. It's
Okay.
again, you look at zombies extended cut.
Okay.
If I could send you if you notes for the link, and it's
I
going to be
sure will.
available. And what's really cool about this movie is premiere week. The director, Hamid Tamapur, is going to donate 5% of this week's proceeds for space camp scholarships.
Wonderful.
So that is
Wonderful. Thank you, director. What is his name? Tommy?
Hamid
Oh,
Hamid
Hami. Hami.
Torabpur, Torabpur.
Thank you, Hami. That's wonderful. More students getting to go to space camp. Oh my gosh. Now I don't want to miss because we've got our salsa. I've got my chips. I've got my chips. I've got my salsa. I need a really good drink. So you mentioned it. Tell us all about Marzarita. And is that on the website too that we can order? Because I've got to try this.
That is on the website. It's really cool. It's
There it
my,
is.
our logo. It's Danny's Rocket Ranch Marzarita Bix, and our granddaughter drew the picture. It has beautiful eyelashes and lipstick. So it's a
That's
girl.
adorable.
So it's Marzarita the Martian. So
That's so cute.
she's our logo on there. She's already a national artist, and she's only 5 years old. So she's
Oh,
on a so and if you're going to have chips and salsa, you
right?
need to have beverage. So
Yep.
you this alcoholic or non-alcoholic. It makes a wonderful limeade drink. So all you do is you get I like to make it in a 32-ounce water bottle. Most any camper or hiker has a 32-ounce water
Sure.
bottle.
That one.
So
Yep.
you
Okay. Ready?
so you would open this up and you would pour it in. So you'd put 10 ounces of water or
Okay.
16 ounces of water if you're going to make a limeade drink. Or if you're going to make it an alcoholic drink, put 10 ounces of water, 6 ounces of tequila.
Okay.
Then get it really rehydrate the dehydrated and freeze dried components. Let it sit for about a minute, and then put a couple of cups of ice. Shake it up, shake it up, shake it up, shake it up till almost all the ice is dissolved, and then pour out 4 8-ounce margaritas. Or you can put it in a blender and blend it till it's frozen, which is what I like to do, and it's quite delicious. And the one we're working on next is called a Tangerita, which is an orange flavor. You can either add you can add again, it'd make a nice orangeade if you use all water. So it's a dual purpose drink. Or you can add vodka or tequila and the water. You shake it up, and it's really good. It's out of this world, delicious.
I can't wait to try that. That sounds delicious. I think I'm going to have to order a whole bunch here before Yuri's night when we celebrate and then we have our space cocktails. This is perfect.
Yeah, yes, it will be. But
Okay.
the Tangerita is not quite ready. We're doing taste testing, but we'll hopefully have available in April sometime.
Well,
So,
put me on your official list as a taste tester because I
oh
would.
well, I you are an official taste tester,
Okay.
right? Right.
I love it.
We'll talk a little bit later. Where you want me to send this, so we can get official here. But by
Perfect.
all means, yes,
I mean, the
we look.
work I have to do for the,
I
research of
I
space.
do it, but I've talked to Chris Carberry. He
Yes.
was space drinks, or space drinks.
Yeah, you bet.
So,
That
and
would be
I love
perfect. And I want to
so.
invite all my analog friends too. Like we're going to meet as an analog community here in May out in the biosphere in Arizona. And these are the
Wow.
kinds of things like the freeze dried foods that, even when we're practicing astronauts, as the analog astronauts we are, we want to have a little fun. We want a little difference in our diet and in our meals that are pretty bland, pretty non spicy. So I can imagine that this would be well received. So we have to keep inviting the space salsa to be part of our adventures. And Danny, I am just so grateful. We finally got to focus on you and your story and what you're doing. And we thank you, all of the space community. And if you are interested and you want to support Danny and help kids go to space camp, but also enjoy a delicious salsa as you're camping or traveling, or just because you want to give this unique product a try, then we'll get you all the website links. We'll showcase Danny, and this episode of the podcast will be phenomenal. So thank you, Danny. And come back, please, when we taste test those drinks. Will you please come back so we can celebrate that as well?
Oh, I would love to. Thank you. This has been quite the blessing, Bess. Thank you for the opportunity, and stay tuned. The best is yet to come. I'll be glad to come back maybe in a year and see where we are now.
I love it. Cheers to that. Thank you, Danny. Cheers.
Absolutely. And may the force be with you.
Yes. Thank you. Okay.